Sometimes the biggest mistake in a crowded room is assuming you already know who belongs there. The countdown clock above the backstage corridor read 6 minutes and 32 seconds before showtime. Inside Skyline Arena, more than 18,000 fans filled every seat. The sold-out concert had transformed the massive venue into a sea of lights, anticipation, and energy. Giant LED screens glowed across the arena. Music pulsed through the speakers as technicians completed final checks. The floor vibrated beneath thousands of excited voices waiting for the headline performer to take the stage. Backstage, however, a very different scene was unfolding. Rachel Bennett moved quickly but calmly through a restricted production corridor. Dressed in a tailored black suit and carrying a tablet loaded with show schedules, lighting cues, and performance notes, she looked focused on 100 details that needed to come together perfectly. Around her, crew members wearing headsets hurried between equipment stations. Stage managers checked timing sheets. Production assistants carried updated run-of-show documents. Every second mattered. Rachel glanced at the countdown clock again. 6 minutes. The opening sequence still needed final approval before the first spotlight could rise. She increased her pace. Then a voice stopped her. "Ma'am, hold on." Rachel turned. Officer Nathan Cole stood several feet away near a security checkpoint. His uniform was immaculate. His posture carried the confidence of someone accustomed to being obeyed immediately. He stepped into her path. "Where are you going?" Rachel looked briefly toward the corridor leading to the control room. "I need to reach production." Nathan extended a hand. "Identification." Rachel handed him her credential. He studied it for only a moment before his expression hardened. "This does not look right." Rachel remained calm. "It is an active production credential." Nathan looked her up and down. "And who exactly issued it?" Nearby crew members slowed their pace. A few exchanged uncertain glances before continuing their work. Nobody wanted to become involved. Rachel answered professionally. "The production office." Nathan folded his arms. "I think you should stay right here until we sort this out." The arena shook with another wave of cheers from the audience. Somewhere beyond the corridor walls, thousands of fans were counting down the final minutes before the concert began. Rachel looked toward the control room entrance again. "Officer, the show starts very soon." "That is not my concern," Nathan replied. "My concern is making sure only authorized people enter restricted areas." Imagine standing only a few hundred feet away from an event that took months to build, knowing that critical decisions still depend on you, yet being unable to reach the room where those decisions must be made. Imagine watching valuable seconds disappear while someone questions whether you belong. Rachel took a slow breath. Her expression never changed. "You are welcome to verify my credentials," she said. "I encourage you to do exactly that." Nathan glanced at the tablet in her hands. "For now, you can wait here." Around them, the energy backstage continued rising. Crew members moved faster. Headsets crackled with updates. The giant countdown clock dropped below 5 minutes. And while 18,000 people prepared for the biggest performance of the night, the woman responsible for helping bring it all together found herself standing still behind a security checkpoint, watched by a police officer who believed she did not belong there. The countdown clock continued its relentless march toward showtime. 4 minutes and 18 seconds remained. Throughout Skyline Arena, the energy was becoming almost electric. Fans filled every section from the floor to the upper deck. Thousands of glowing wristbands flickered across the darkness like stars waiting for the night sky to come alive. The roar of the crowd rose and fell in waves each time a stage light flashed or a test animation appeared on the massive LED screens. Somewhere beyond the backstage walls, 18,000 people were preparing for a performance they would remember for years. Yet in a narrow production corridor, time seemed to have stopped. Rachel Bennett remained beside the security checkpoint exactly where Officer Nathan Cole had instructed her to stay. She held her tablet calmly against her side while crew members hurried past carrying headsets, cables, schedules, and equipment. Every person moving through the corridor appeared to have somewhere urgent to be. Every person except the one who arguably needed to reach the control room most. Nathan examined her credential again. "You said you work with production." Rachel nodded. "That is correct. What exactly do you do?" Rachel glanced toward the distant control room doors. "At the moment, I am trying to make sure this concert begins on time." Nathan seemed unimpressed. "That is not an answer." Rachel offered a polite smile. It is the most important answer right now. Several nearby crew members overheard the exchange. One production assistant slowed briefly before continuing down the hallway. Another looked as though she wanted to say something but thought better of it. Nobody wanted to challenge a uniformed officer minutes before a sold-out event. Imagine spending months planning every detail of a major production. Imagine knowing that thousands of people are waiting for a moment you helped create. Then imagine being forced to stand still while the clock continues moving. Rachel understood that feeling perfectly. Yet remarkably, she showed no frustration. Nathan looked down at the tablet. What is on there? Production schedules. Can I see them? Rachel immediately unlocked the screen and handed him the device. The display revealed lighting cues, stage transitions, performer entrances, timing notes, and communication channels. Information filled every page. Nathan looked at it briefly before handing it back. Anybody could have that. Rachel remained silent for a moment. Officer, have you contacted production management? Not yet. Why not? Nathan folded his arms. Because I am still evaluating the situation. Rachel nodded slowly. Her expression remained composed, but several crew members exchanged worried glances. The countdown clock dropped below 4 minutes. A voice crackled through multiple headsets at once. Final cue review in progress. All department leads report status. The message immediately triggered a new wave of movement throughout the corridor. Stage managers disappeared through side doors. Lighting technicians hurried toward control stations. Security staff checked access points one final time. The entire arena seemed to accelerate around them. Then Rachel's tablet vibrated. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. Incoming messages appeared across the screen. She glanced down briefly. Nathan noticed. Problem. Rachel looked toward the control room again. That depends on how quickly someone answers a question. Nathan frowned. What question? Rachel met his eyes. Whether you are willing to verify who I am before 18,000 people discover that the person responsible for opening this show is standing behind your checkpoint. The countdown clock reached 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Every passing second now carried weight. Throughout Skyline Arena, anticipation continued building toward a breaking point. Fans stood from their seats and pointed phones toward the stage. Giant screens displayed animated graphics synchronized to the music pulsing through the sound system. The energy was contagious. The kind of energy that only exists when thousands of people are waiting for a moment they have dreamed about for months. Backstage, however, a very different kind of pressure was taking hold. Rachel Bennett looked down at the stream of messages appearing on her tablet. Production supervisors were asking the same question in different ways. Where are you? Final approval needed. Opening sequence waiting. Lighting department standing by. Rachel quietly locked the screen and slipped the tablet beneath her arm. Her calmness seemed almost impossible under the circumstances. Officer Nathan Cole noticed. You seem unusually relaxed for someone claiming to be essential to this show. Rachel looked toward the control room doors. Panic rarely solves problems. Nathan shook his head. Confidence is not proof. Rachel offered a small nod. Neither is suspicion. Several crew members nearby exchanged looks. The conversation was becoming increasingly uncomfortable to watch. One lighting technician paused at the checkpoint before finally speaking. Officer, maybe we should call production management. Nathan immediately answered. I am handling it. The technician hesitated, then continued down the corridor without another word. The clock dropped below 3 minutes. Imagine standing only a few steps away from the place where months of planning are about to become reality. Imagine knowing exactly what needs to happen next while being powerless to make it happen. Rachel understood that frustration, yet she refused to show it. Across the arena, a pre-recorded announcement echoed through the speakers. The crowd erupted into cheers so loud that even backstage walls seemed to vibrate. Nathan glanced toward the arena entrance. Big crowd tonight. Rachel smiled faintly. Sold out in less than 20 minutes. Nathan raised an eyebrow. You would know that? Yes. Why? Rachel did not answer immediately. Instead, she looked past him toward a bank of security monitors mounted near the checkpoint. One of the screens displayed the production control room. Several people wearing headsets were moving rapidly between consoles. One man in particular seemed increasingly concerned. He was checking multiple monitors, speaking into a headset, then looking at his phone. Again and again. Rachel recognized him instantly. Jason Miller. Concert manager. Nathan followed her gaze. You know someone in there? A few people. Nathan crossed his arms once more. Interesting. At that exact moment, Rachel's tablet vibrated again. This time a name appeared clearly across the lock screen before the notification disappeared. Jason Miller. Nathan noticed it. So did two nearby crew members. The atmosphere changed slightly. Not dramatically, just enough to make people pay closer attention. Rachel remained composed. Officer, this situation can still be resolved very easily. Nathan looked unconvinced. How? Rachel met his eyes. By asking one question to the right person. Before Nathan could respond, a voice suddenly crackled through several headsets at once. It was louder than before. More urgent. All departments respond immediately. We cannot locate Rachel Bennett. Repeat, we cannot locate Rachel Bennett. Report status now. For the first time all evening, uncertainty flickered across Nathan Cole's face. And somewhere inside the control room, Jason Miller had just realized exactly where the missing creative director was standing. The message echoing through the headsets changed everything. Crew members who had remained silent suddenly stopped pretending this was an ordinary security check. The words repeated across multiple communication channels. We cannot locate Rachel Bennett. Every person within hearing distance understood the significance immediately. Every person except Officer Nathan Cole. The countdown clock now showed 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Inside Skyline Arena, 18,000 fans continued cheering, completely unaware that the person responsible for coordinating the opening moments of the entire production was standing behind a security checkpoint. Nathan looked around the corridor. He noticed the sudden shift in body language. Lighting technicians were whispering. Production assistants were checking their phones. Even security personnel stationed farther down the hallway seemed confused. Rachel Bennett remained exactly where she had been all along. Calm, patient, unshaken. Imagine standing in the center of a storm while everyone around you begins to panic. Imagine knowing the solution is simple, but watching others struggle to recognize it. Rachel understood something Nathan still did not. The truth was already moving toward them. Deep inside the production control room, Jason Miller stared at a security monitor mounted above a row of technical consoles. On the screen, he could clearly see Rachel standing beside the checkpoint. For a brief moment, he thought he was looking at an old camera feed. Then reality hit him. She was not missing. She was being held. You have got to be kidding me, he muttered before rushing toward the corridor. Around him, members of the production team scrambled to keep the show on schedule. The opening sequence still required final authorization. Lighting cues remained pending. Multiple departments were waiting for approval. Every second now mattered. Back at the checkpoint, Nathan maintained his position. This proves nothing, he said. Rachel looked at him carefully. What would prove it? The question lingered in the air. Nathan hesitated. Not because he had an answer. Because for the first time, he was beginning to realize he might not. Nearby, one production assistant finally gathered enough courage to speak. Officer, Rachel is mentioned in almost every production meeting. Nathan turned toward him. You know her. Everyone knows her. The answer created another uncomfortable silence. Rachel said nothing. She did not need to. The corridor itself was starting to speak on her behalf. Then the arena erupted with another wave of applause so powerful that the floor beneath them vibrated. The countdown clock dropped below 2 minutes. A large monitor mounted near the checkpoint automatically switched to the live arena feed. Thousands of fans appeared on the screen, waving lights and cheering. The atmosphere looked spectacular. Yet behind the scenes, concern continued growing. Rachel's tablet vibrated again. This time she looked at the message. A single sentence appeared. Jason Miller, coming to you now. Rachel quietly locked the screen. Nathan noticed. Who is Jason Miller? Rachel almost smiled. You are about to find out. Before Nathan could respond, movement appeared at the far end of the corridor. Several crew members immediately stepped aside. Others straightened their posture. The reaction spread quickly. Someone important was approaching. Fast. As Jason Miller hurried through the backstage hallway with urgency written across his face, dozens of people watched. And within moments, the misunderstanding that had delayed an entire concert was about to collide with a truth far bigger than anyone standing at that checkpoint expected. Jason Miller reached the checkpoint with less than 90 seconds remaining before showtime. The urgency in his expression immediately captured everyone's attention. Crew members who had been pretending not to watch now stopped entirely. Production assistants froze in place. Lighting technicians looked up from their devices. Even security staff farther down the corridor turned toward the commotion. Jason moved directly to Rachel Bennett. "Rachel," he said, clearly relieved. "We have been trying to find you everywhere." Rachel nodded calmly. "I noticed." The answer carried no frustration despite everything that had happened. Jason glanced toward Officer Nathan Cole, then back toward Rachel. "The opening sequence is waiting for your approval." Several people nearby exchanged stunned looks. Nathan remained silent. For the first time since the encounter began, he appeared unsure of himself. Imagine spending an entire evening convinced you were protecting an event, only to discover you had delayed the person responsible for helping run it. Imagine realizing the truth has been standing in front of you all along. Jason looked at the countdown clock. 78 seconds. His concern immediately returned. "We need to move." Rachel nodded and started to step forward. Nathan instinctively shifted his stance. Not to stop her this time, but because he still seemed to be processing what he was hearing. "Wait," he said. "What exactly is her role?" The corridor grew quiet. Jason stared at him for a moment, almost unable to believe the question. "Her role," he repeated. "Officer Rachel Bennett is the creative director of this entire production." The words seemed to echo through the hallway. Several crew members lowered their heads. Others exchanged looks of disbelief. Nathan stared at Rachel. The answer clearly was not what he expected. Jason continued speaking because there was no longer time for confusion. The stage design, the lighting concepts, the visual transitions, the timing structure, the audience experience, the opening sequence, the finale. Rachel oversees all of it. Nathan looked toward the tablet in Rachel's hands. Suddenly, every message, every schedule, every production cue made sense. Rachel remained composed. She did not celebrate being proven right. She did not embarrass him. She simply stood there waiting for the show to begin. Jason checked his headset. Multiple voices were speaking at once. 30-second warning coming soon, someone announced. Another voice asked for final authorization. The entire production team was waiting. Then something unexpected happened. A backstage camera feed connected to one of the arena display systems briefly appeared on a large monitor near the corridor. The image showed Rachel, Jason, and Nathan standing together. Several technicians immediately noticed. So did people inside the control room. Within seconds, whispers spread through multiple communication channels. Rachel Bennett had been found. Relief moved through the production staff like a wave. Jason stepped aside and gestured toward the control room. "Rachel, they are all waiting for you." Rachel finally started walking. Crew members moved aside respectfully as she passed. The countdown clock continued falling. 60 seconds. 59. 58. Nathan watched silently. Around him, dozens of people were now looking at Rachel with admiration and trust. Not because of a title, because of the calm professionalism she had displayed when others would have become angry. And as Rachel approached the control room doors, the truth that had been hidden behind a simple assumption was finally visible to everyone standing in that corridor. The moment Rachel Bennett stepped through the control room doors, the entire atmosphere changed. Tension that had been building for minutes immediately began to dissolve. Dozens of screens filled the room with shifting colors and moving graphics. Technicians wearing headsets sat before rows of monitors displaying camera angles, lighting sequences, audio levels, and stage timing cues. Every department had been waiting for a single confirmation. Rachel's confirmation. "Rachel is here," Jason Miller announced into his headset. The reaction was immediate. Several technicians smiled with relief. Others returned to their stations with renewed focus. The opening sequence that had seemed dangerously close to unraveling was suddenly back on track. Rachel placed her tablet on the central console and quickly reviewed the final production notes. Her movements were calm and precise. No wasted motion. No signs of panic. Only professionalism. Imagine walking into a room where dozens of people are waiting for your decision, yet treating the responsibility as simply another part of the job. That quiet confidence often reveals more about leadership than any title ever could. The countdown clock appeared on multiple monitors throughout the control room. 45 seconds remained. Rachel reviewed one final lighting cue. Stage left transition approved. A technician nodded. Confirmed. Opening visual sequence approved. Another technician answered. Confirmed. Audio synchronization approved. Confirmed. Across the room, departments that had spent months preparing for this moment suddenly moved together like a single machine. Everything was ready. Beyond the control room walls, 18,000 fans continued cheering. The sound rolled through the arena like thunder. Nathan Cole remained outside in the corridor. Crew members passed him without hostility, but something had clearly changed. Earlier, people had viewed him as the authority in the situation. Now they understood that authority without information can create problems instead of solving them. Nathan watched through the control room window as Rachel worked. He noticed something that had escaped him before. Nobody questioned her instructions. Nobody hesitated when she spoke. Every person in that room trusted her judgment completely. That kind of trust could not be earned overnight. It came from experience, preparation, and respect. Inside the control room, Rachel received one final update from the stage manager. Performer is in position. Rachel nodded. Begin opening sequence. The command moved through multiple communication channels simultaneously. Seconds later, the arena lights dimmed. A wave of excitement exploded from the audience. Massive LED screens illuminated the darkness with brilliant patterns of color. Music surged through the venue. Fans jumped to their feet. The show had begun. In the control room, cheers erupted among the production team. Not loud celebrations, just brief expressions of relief and pride. Months of planning were finally becoming reality. Jason smiled and looked toward Rachel. You just saved us. Rachel shook her head gently. The team saved the show. Her answer reflected exactly who she was. Even after everything that had happened, she focused on others instead of herself. Through a monitor displaying a live audience view, thousands of smiling faces filled the screen. The concert was unfolding exactly as planned. Yet perhaps the most important performance that night had happened backstage. It was not a musical performance. It was a demonstration of patience, professionalism, and dignity under pressure. And while the audience celebrated the opening moments of a spectacular concert, another lesson was beginning to resonate quietly beyond the stage lights. The people who truly belong in a room rarely need to announce it. Their actions eventually speak louder than assumptions ever can. As the concert moved into its second song, the atmosphere inside Skyline Arena transformed from anticipation into celebration. Waves of music rolled through the venue. Fans sang along beneath dazzling patterns of light sweeping across the crowd. Giant screens displayed breathtaking visuals synchronized perfectly with every beat. From the audience perspective, everything appeared effortless, seamless, magical. Very few people understood how many moving pieces had to work together to create that experience. Inside the control room, Rachel Bennett continued monitoring every detail. Her eyes moved between screens displaying camera feeds, stage positions, audience reactions, and production timelines. Around her, technicians coordinated dozens of systems simultaneously. Yet despite the complexity surrounding her, Rachel remained remarkably calm. The pressure that overwhelmed others seemed to sharpen her focus instead. Imagine carrying responsibility for a moment shared by 18,000 people and treating that responsibility not as a burden, but as a privilege. That was the difference many people were beginning to notice. Jason Miller leaned against a nearby console and watched the operation unfold. "We are back on schedule," he said with visible relief. Rachel nodded. The team adjusted quickly. Jason laughed softly. "You always give credit away." Rachel smiled, but returned her attention to the monitors. Outside the control room, however, another story was still unfolding. Officer Nathan Cole remained near the backstage checkpoint. The corridor that had felt so certain earlier now felt very different. Crew members moved past him carrying equipment and schedules, but the interactions had changed. Nobody was rude. Nobody was confrontational. Yet many of them now understood exactly what had happened. Nathan understood it too. The realization settled heavier with every passing minute. Across multiple backstage monitors, live camera feeds showed the concert progressing beautifully. One screen displayed the audience. Another displayed the performer. Another displayed the production crew coordinating everything behind the scenes. Occasionally, Rachel appeared briefly on one of the monitors while reviewing cues with technicians. Each appearance reinforced the same truth. She belonged there. She always had. Imagine discovering that the person you questioned was one of the very people holding an entire production together. Imagine realizing that confidence in your own judgment had prevented you from seeing the reality standing directly in front of you. Nathan watched silently. For perhaps the first time that evening, he was not evaluating someone else. He was evaluating himself. Meanwhile, inside the arena, the audience continued responding enthusiastically to every moment of the show. Social media posts flooded across phones throughout the venue. Fans celebrated what many were already calling an unforgettable experience. None of them knew how close the production had come to beginning with chaos. None of them knew about the misunderstanding that had delayed the creative director moments before showtime. Yet somehow that made the lesson even more meaningful. The audience did not need to witness the conflict to benefit from the professionalism that resolved it. Back inside the control room, one of the lead technicians looked toward Rachel. That opening transition may have been the smoothest we have ever done. Several others nodded in agreement. Rachel smiled politely. Then let us keep the rest of the night just as smooth. The response earned quiet laughter throughout the room. Work continued. Music continued. The show continued. And as the arena glowed beneath thousands of lights, one truth continued growing clearer. Respect is not measured by how people act when they are praised. It is measured by how they act when they are misunderstood. As the concert moved deeper into the evening, the production settled into a rhythm that felt almost effortless. Song after song flowed across the stage with precision. Lighting transitions landed exactly on cue. Camera angles shifted seamlessly across the giant screens. The audience remained completely immersed in the experience unfolding before them. To the thousands of fans filling Skyline Arena, it looked like perfection. To the people behind the scenes, it looked like the result of preparation, teamwork, and leadership. Rachel Bennett continued moving between production stations, reviewing updates and coordinating adjustments as the night progressed. Every department seemed connected by an invisible thread of trust. Technicians listened when she spoke. Managers consulted her before major decisions. Crew members approached her with questions and left with confidence. None of it felt forced. It felt earned. Imagine spending years building a reputation so strong that people trust your judgment before you even finish a sentence. That kind of respect cannot be purchased. It cannot be demanded. It can only be earned through consistency. Nearby, Jason Miller watched another successful transition unfold across the monitors. Best crowd reaction of the tour so far, he said. Rachel glanced at the audience feed. Thousands of lights swayed throughout the arena. Smiles filled the screen. They came for a great show, she replied. We should give them one. Jason smiled. The answer did not surprise him. Even after everything that had happened earlier, Rachel remained focused on the audience rather than herself. Outside the control room, Officer Nathan Cole still found himself reflecting on the evening. He had replayed the interaction in his mind more times than he could count. The confidence he had carried earlier now felt different. Less certain, more thoughtful. As crew members continued moving through the corridor, he began noticing details he had overlooked before. People greeted Rachel with genuine respect. Team leaders consulted her regularly. Even veteran staff members listened carefully when she offered suggestions. The signs had been everywhere. He simply had not seen them. Or perhaps he had not wanted to. Across the arena, the headline performer paused between songs to address the crowd. Cheers echoed through the venue. The performer thanked the production team, the crew, and everyone who had worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make the night possible. The audience responded with enthusiastic applause. Most fans would never meet the people being recognized, yet their work shaped every moment of the experience. Rachel happened to be standing near a monitor displaying the live stage feed when the acknowledgement occurred. Several crew members nearby applauded softly. One lighting technician smiled and said, "That includes you." Rachel simply nodded. "It includes all of us." Once again, she redirected attention toward the team. The response left an impression on everyone who heard it. Leadership, they realized, was not about standing above others. It was about lifting others with you. As another song began and the arena erupted with fresh excitement, a deeper lesson continued unfolding quietly behind the scenes. Earlier that evening, assumptions had nearly overshadowed reality. Now reality stood fully visible. The woman who had been questioned at the checkpoint was helping guide one of the most successful nights of the entire tour. And the people who witnessed both moments understood something important. Titles may command attention. Uniforms may command authority. But character is what ultimately earns respect. The final song of the evening arrived almost before anyone realized it. Hours had passed since the opening moments that nearly unfolded very differently. Yet the energy inside Skyline Arena remained extraordinary. Thousands of fans stood beneath a sea of lights, singing along as the final performance reached its emotional peak. The giant screens glowed across the venue. The music carried through every section of the building. Smiles, applause, and unforgettable memories filled the arena. Inside the control room, Rachel Bennett watched the final sequence unfold exactly as planned. Months of preparation had become reality. Every lighting transition, every visual cue, every carefully timed moment had come together. Around her, technicians exchanged relieved smiles. Some quietly celebrated. Others simply sat back for a moment and appreciated what they had accomplished together. Jason Miller looked across the room and shook his head with admiration. Another sold-out show. Another success. Rachel smiled. Because everyone did their job. The answer was consistent with everything she had demonstrated throughout the evening. Even now, she focused on the team rather than herself. Imagine carrying responsibility for an event experienced by 18,000 people and still believing the greatest achievement belongs to the people around you. That kind of humility leaves a lasting impression. As the final song ended, the arena erupted into thunderous applause. The performer stood at center stage, taking in the moment before speaking to the audience one last time. The crowd responded with cheers that seemed to shake the entire building. Backstage, crew members embraced, exchanged congratulations, and began the long process of shutting down equipment. The pressure was gone. The work was done. Near the corridor where the evening's misunderstanding had begun, Officer Nathan Cole remained quietly reflective. He had spent much of the concert thinking about what had happened. The lesson had become impossible to ignore. Assumptions had nearly prevented him from seeing the truth. Confidence had nearly replaced curiosity. And one simple decision to verify the facts could have changed everything. As people began leaving the control room, Rachel gathered her tablet and prepared to head home. The long day was finally ending. When she stepped into the corridor, Nathan approached respectfully. His voice carried none of the certainty that had defined their first interaction. "Ms. Bennett." Rachel stopped. "Yes." Nathan paused briefly before speaking. "I should have taken the time to understand the situation before making a judgment." Rachel studied him for a moment. Then she nodded. Understanding usually takes less effort than correcting a misunderstanding. The words were calm, honest, free from anger. Nathan nodded slowly. He understood exactly what she meant. There was nothing more to say. No public confrontation. No humiliation. No revenge. Just a lesson delivered with dignity. Rachel continued toward the arena exit. Beyond the doors, the city lights of Nashville stretched into the distance beneath the night sky. Behind her, thousands of fans carried unforgettable memories home. The concert would be remembered for its music, its energy, and its spectacle. But for those who witnessed what happened behind the scenes, another memory would remain. A reminder that character reveals itself under pressure. A reminder that respect should come before assumptions. And a reminder that the people who truly belong often do not need to prove it. Their actions eventually speak louder than any judgment ever could. He thought he was protecting the event. But that night, the event revealed something far more important. The strongest voice in the room was never the loudest one. It was the quiet truth that refused to disappear.